Every time that check engine light comes on and you head to a mechanic, remember one thing. There's a way for you, in just a few minutes, to find out exactly what the problem is before you even walk into the shop. You don't have to take at face value whatever they tell you there. You can check the error code yourself, know exactly what your car's computer is reporting, and only then decide whether the repair they're offering you is actually necessary. All you need is one small device, costing around $15, and a free app on your phone. The first time, the entire setup, installing the app, pairing the device, finding the port, takes somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes. But once you've set it up, every reading after that will take literally half a minute. You plug it in, the app connects on its own, and the code appears on screen. That's the difference between paying for something you actually need and paying for something someone simply convinced you that you need. Here's exactly how it works and how to use it right now. There it is. A small, trapezoid-shaped port, usually dark in color, hidden under the steering wheel, to the left or right of the pedals. It's called OBD2. Here's the history. In 1996, in the United States, it became mandatory for every vehicle to have this system. A universal computer port that continuously monitors engine performance and the emission system. The European Union introduced its equivalent called EOBD, mandatory for gasoline vehicles starting in 2001, and for diesel vehicles starting in 2004. The original purpose was environmental, to monitor harmful gas emissions. But a byproduct of that system is something far more important for the average driver. Every time the car's computer detects a deviation from normal, whether it's a serious problem or something trivial, it generates a precise, standardized code, a code that doesn't depend on the brand, the model, or the country of origin. A code that means the same thing, whether it's read by a machine in Skopje, in Berlin, or in Detroit. That code is the truth. And until recently, the only way to access that truth was through an expensive diagnostic tool, a device that cost thousands of dollars and existed almost exclusively inside repair shops. That meant one thing. The mechanic was the sole gatekeeper of the information. And when only one person holds all the information and the other holds none, the balance of power becomes dangerously uneven. Let's be precise. We're not claiming every mechanic scams people. Most are honest professionals who do their job with integrity. But the system, as it existed until now, left room for abuse, and that room was exploited by the less scrupulous ones. Here's how it plays out in practice. The check engine light comes on. The driver, with no information at all, goes to a shop. The mechanic plugs in his expensive tool, reads the code. Let's say P0420, a code that usually points to a problem with the catalytic converter. This is where the problem starts. The P0420 code can genuinely mean the catalytic converter has failed, a repair that can cost several $100s. But that same code much more often means something far simpler: a loose or failing oxygen sensor, an air intake issue, or even a minor software glitch that requires no repair at all. A dishonest mechanic, seeing a driver who has no clue about any of this, will say, "You need to replace the catalytic converter." And because the driver has no way to verify that claim, he accepts it. He pays for the most expensive possible interpretation of a code that could have meant 10 different things. The problem isn't the code. The problem is that only one side of that transaction knows how to read it. Now let's flip the scene. Same situation, with one small difference. Before heading to the mechanic, the driver takes a small device out of the glove compartment, a device that costs between $15 and $25, depending on the manufacturer. He plugs it into that same OBD2 port under the steering wheel. He opens a free app on his phone. The most well-known ones are Torque, Car Scanner, ELMOBD2, or OBD Auto Doctor, connects via Bluetooth, and within a few seconds, the same code appears on the phone screen, P0420. But the app doesn't stop there. It provides a description of the code in plain language. In this case, something like catalyst system efficiency below threshold. It offers additional information, live sensor data, code history, even an estimate of how serious the problem is. With that one piece of information, the entire power dynamic in that conversation with the mechanic shifts completely. Instead of walking into the shop and saying, "My light is on, I don't know why," the driver walks in and says, "I'm getting code P0420. I checked, and it most often means an issue with the oxygen sensor upstream of the catalytic converter. Can you check that first, before we talk about replacing the whole catalytic converter?" That single question, asked with confidence backed by an accurate data point, is enough to change the entire dynamic. The mechanic now knows he's talking to someone who has information. And experience shows that when a customer demonstrates knowledge, the chance of an unnecessary, overpriced repair drops dramatically. Let's walk through the process step by step so that anyone watching can literally do this tonight. Step 1. Find the port. In most vehicles, it's located under the dashboard on the driver's side, usually near the pedals or right under the steering wheel. The shape is distinctive, trapezoidal, with rows of small pinholes. This usually takes 1 to 2 minutes if you're not sure where it is. Step 2. Buy a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi OBD2 adapter. The most common chip in the cheap devices is called the ELM327. It's practically the industry standard for this price range. The cost usually ranges from $15 to $25, depending on the seller and the connection speed. Step 3. Download a free app on your phone. There are several solid options available for both Android and iOS. This takes a minute or two. Step 4. Plug in the device. Turn on the car's ignition. The engine doesn't need to be running. Just the electronics need to be active. And pair the device with your phone through the Bluetooth settings. This is usually the step that takes the longest the first time, up to about 3 minutes, since some of the cheaper devices can be a bit finicky on the first connection. Step 5. Open the app, select Read Codes, and the exact code appears immediately, along with an explanation. So, in total, the first use realistically takes somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. But that's an investment you make only once. Every scan after that, whether it's next week or next year, takes only as long as it takes you to plug in the device and to open the app. Practically under a minute. An important note, there are 2 categories of codes: active codes, which indicate a current ongoing problem, and historical codes, which are stored from a past event, but the current condition has already been resolved. Apps usually distinguish between the two, and that's a critical piece of information. If you're seeing an old code with no active problem, you may not need to spend any money at all. Now, honesty requires us to say something else too. This device doesn't turn you into a mechanic overnight. The code tells you where the car's computer detected a deviation. It doesn't always tell you why it happened, nor does it give you the green light to finish the repair yourself if you lack the proper knowledge or tools. Some repairs require specialized equipment, experience, or, in the case of more complex electrical and hybrid systems, serious expertise. What this device really gives you is something else, and it's crucial: negotiating power. The ability to walk up to a professional not as a blank page he can write anything on, but as an informed customer who can ask the right questions and demand a specific explanation for why a particular repair is being recommended. That's the difference between being dependent and being a partner in your own decision. Those $15 don't buy a repair. They buy something rarer: being informed at a moment when most people surrender completely to someone else's judgment simply because they have no other choice. Technology that was once available only in expensive service stations now sits in the pocket of every driver willing to use it. The only barrier between the driver and that information was never the price. It was simply not knowing that the option existed at all. Now you know. The question is whether the next time that orange light comes on, you'll walk into the shop with a question or with an answer.